Hello, welcome. Today we are talking about anxiety. We're talking about how to deal with it, how to cope with it, and how to overcome it. This is off topic for my channel, which is a music channel, but my heart is really just to help people. And over the last few months, I've really learned some stuff about this, and I want to share it just to help you out. If you're one of my normal subscribers, don't worry, music is coming back at you real soon. But we are going to have 5 quick fire tips. These are my top 5 tips of how to deal with anxiety. At the end I will do 2 bonus tips, one for driving, one for sleeping, and then I will tell you a bit of my story, but I'll save that stuff till the end just in case you need these tips real quick, so let's get into it. Okay, so tip number 1 is check your breathing. First thing you want to do, and this is wherever you are, whatever you're doing, make sure that you are breathing right. Okay, there is apparently right and wrong ways to breathe, believe it or not. And when you're anxious or you're getting into panic mode, this stuff gets screwed up, and your body actually has it keeps a level of carbon dioxide versus oxygen that kind of needs to be, somewhere in the right range. And when those go out of whack, that can affect you. That can make your body feel a bit funny, and which probably freaks you out more and makes things worse. So getting this right first is a great place to start. Okay, so there's this thing called hyperventilation syndrome. There's a great book on it. I'll chuck a link in the description to that book by Dinah Bradley. It's not what you think it is. I always thought hyperventilation was, what you see in the movies. Which, you might do that if you're having like a full-on panic attack or something. But really that's hyperventilation just means that you'll breathe too much. And that might be you're breathing in too much, you might be breathing out too much, and so you're giving out too much carbon dioxide, or you're taking in too much oxygen. It can be messed up in either direction. But the main thing to look at with anxiety is particularly where you're breathing, whether you're chest breathing or diaphragm breathing. Okay, so just quickly, just in case somebody is watching this having a panic attack, forget about the brown paper bag that you see in the movies. What they do now is what they call 5 and 5. Just cup your hands over your mouth and nose. I forgot what it's called. It doesn't have to be a complete airtight seal, but you're just going to breathe in and out 5 times. And then out 5 times. And you can repeat that over and over. When I say out, I mean no hands. Okay, and then you can go back if you need to. Okay, but as soon as possible, you want to get into this other technique. So we're going to breathe through our nose, because that's where, if you're calm and you're in a calm situation, that's where you're breathing through your nose. You're not thinking about breathing through your mouth. If you've just been for a run, then you are breathing through your mouth because you need to get in extra oxygen, and you are full on chest breathing. Okay. That's what you do, right, when you've been running, if you've been running a long way. And when you're in fight or flight mode, same thing. When you're stressing, your body's getting ready to either fight or flight, that's what's happening, all chest. So that's what we want to turn off. So you can chuck your hand on your chest, your other hand on your tummy. This is actually a lot easier to do lying on your back on the floor than it is sitting up like this, but we'll try it anyway. So we only want 10% movement up here, 90% down here. Just breathing in through our nose and out through our nose. Okay, and what you can do, you can you can count your breaths as you go. It just gives your mind something else to focus on. But yeah, really just focus on getting that diaphragm moving, which basically means your tummy's coming in and out. You're not breathing too fast, you're just breathing nice and relaxed, normal. You're trying to be as normal as possible, even if you don't feel like it. And you don't want to pause too long at the ends of breaths or anything like that. Yeah, just nice and calm, flowing. You can count them, keep a steady rhythm. So that is checking your breathing. On to tip number 2. Cool. Tip number 2, things are going to start sounding weird now, but this one actually comes from the Japanese and it's to do with pressure points in the body, but this is another easy do anywhere thing, and you wouldn't believe, but it does actually help, and it sounds ridiculous, but grab your thumb. Okay, so there's pressure points in your hands. When you start to understand the nervous system and the body and electric signals and that sort of thing, it's pretty crazy actually what's connected to what. And what I've found, I've done a lot of work with a chiropractor who talks a lot about the different areas of your spine and how different areas of your body are connected there, because of course all your neurotransmitter stuff all has to go up through your spine at some point, right? So everything connects in a certain place. So pressure points are, very, very, for lack of a better word. Okay, so the one for anxiety is in your thumb. Fear, if you're feeling fearful, is the first finger. I can't remember what the other 3 were. There are stuff for them, but yeah, grab hold of your thumb, and you can do 5 minutes on one hand, 5 minutes on the other. If it takes that long, it shouldn't take that long. You'll find often that can calm you down fairly quickly. Cool? On to tip number 3. Okay, so tip number 3. Okay, so this one is again going to be to do with that neurotransmitter stuff. And what you're going to need is you're going to need something cool. A wheat pack works really well, which is basically just an oblong thing of material with basically uncooked rice put in it. You'd think it would be wheat, maybe you can do it with wheat, I don't know, normally it's got rice in it. You can buy them, I'll see if I can find a link, I'll chuck it down there if I can. But they're easy to make too. Just if you know someone that can sew, just sew up a square little pillow thing. You chuck them in the fridge and they get cold. Okay, you don't want them ice cold, so not like freezer temperature, but just cool. And then on your back, if I was to say the top of my pants, sorry, this is my wire. This is for my in-ears, because I'm recording another video very shortly, so my in-ears are set up. Anyway, so I say maybe like the top of my pant line and the base of my neck, and then if I came up like a third in between, okay, so roughly in that area there, okay, and I put that cold thing across my back there. You can chuck it on a chair and sit against it, or you can lie on your tummy with it lying across your back, or you can lie on the ground with it. Probably quite uncomfortable, but you can do that. There's an area in there that is connected to fight or flight mode, and cooling that down will help to switch that off. Another one sounds crazy, but it works. Okay, on to tip number 4. Tip number 4, you're going to need a pillow. It's probably easier to find than a wee sack. I would have shown you my wee sack, but my baby is currently using my wee sack in her cot to keep her nice and warm. Well, complicated. Heats up her bed before she gets into it. Anyway, this one you need a pillow. Again, we're switching off fight or flight mode. Again, it's going to sound a little bit ridiculous, but it works, trust me. Okay, so when you're lying down, and you can do, this is a great one for when you're in bed, like, when you wake up in the morning and you start feeling anxious, this is a great time, that is a great time to use this one. Your pillow, you still keep your pillow under your head, but get another pillow, chuck it under your feet, so your feet sit up on here. You wouldn't believe it, but that helps to switch off flight or fight mode. for the ridiculous reason that your feet aren't on the ground and you can't run anywhere. Isn't that nuts? But it actually works. So that is a great one for the morning. Cool? On to tip number 5. Okay, so tip number 5 now. This is one that you may have seen on other videos. I forget the lady it comes from, but you've probably seen it if you're looking at this stuff on YouTube. But I'm gonna throw it in because it does work when you're like, even when you're in panic attack mode. This one works, and I think it's great. So we're just gonna throw it in there, and it is the countdown from 5. Okay, so the way she explains it is quite cool. Like, you know, when you're anxious and all this stuff is going on in your body, but your brain doesn't have any context for why that is happening. So she talks about it like, you know, when you're almost in a car crash, like somebody almost crashes into you but they don't, and all this stuff is going crazy in your body, or your adrenaline, all this stuff, and everything slows down and you've got all these feelings, but you've got context for it because you just about crashed and you know why, and so eventually you can calm yourself down because you know it was just that situation and that situation isn't here anymore. But with anxiety, you get all that stuff but there's no context for it. Okay, so she talks about using something that excites you. So think of something that you would be excited about, and then you close your eyes, you count backwards from 5, so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you picture that thing, and then you're giving your brain a false context for what your body is doing. Okay, so that's great. What I actually do is I just count backwards from 5 and then just tell myself I'm fine. Just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you're fine. That works. I don't know. I couldn't think of something that excited me, like, to make me go, ooh. Yeah, I don't know, kind of weird. But anyway, those are the 5 tips. But stay tuned, I've got a couple of bonus tips for you now. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story and how I came to know this stuff, and yeah. But yeah, that'll be right at the end. Coming up is bonus tips, 1 for driving, 1 for sleeping. Okay, so bonus tip number 1, we'll do the driving first, and again it's going to sound ridiculous, and I don't even know why this works. I can't even remember how I worked this one out, but it seems to work. When you're driving somewhere, like, you know, if you're driving to work and you're getting anxious about it, chewing gum. Chewing gum while you're driving. For some ridiculous reason that seems to work, whether it gives you something else to focus on, or whether it changes your breathing or something like that, I don't know, but it seems to work. Worth a try anyway, I know it works for me. Okay, so on to the next bonus tip for sleeping. Okay, bonus tip number 2, going to sleep. And now you're really going to think that I'm crazy, but this is something that actually I've done for many years to get to sleep since I was a little kid. I learned this from my mum, who was a pharmacist. She used to get people asking her for sleeping pills all the time, which she had to have a doctor's prescription for anyway, so she'd send them away, but she'd always tell them to try this first before they go and get sleeping pills. Try this technique, and it does work. Okay, so the reason it works is one of the biggest battles for sleep, especially if you're anxious, is thinking. You're thinking too much. You're thinking about what happened today, that conversation you had that didn't go so well, what's going to happen tomorrow, you know, what's going on at work, what's going on with my family. You're thinking about all this stuff, and because your brain is registering all this stuff and it's registering all this stuff as important stuff, it won't switch off. So it won't allow you to go to sleep, because it's got you in this mode of, no, we've got to work this stuff out. We've we've got to think about it. We've got to, we've got to know what we're going to do tomorrow. We've got to think about what happened today and how we feel about that. So the easy way to switch that off, and this is where it starts to sound crazy, is basically to have an imaginary world. Okay, so you basically have a world where it's got nothing at all to do with your everyday life. Okay, so here's where you're going to think I'm crazy, because I'm going to tell you what mine is, what it's been since I've been a little kid, and it's just been on a boat, in a fleet of boats. It's in like a kind of like a peacekeeping mission type thing, and all these boats are like chained together, and they're all indestructible, so like no one can like kill you or anything, but you're basically just cruising around the world through the oceans, just like trying to keep everything at peace. So like when there's war, like you can be there, and like no one can really take you on, but it's this ridiculous thing, but it's got nothing to do with anything anywhere near reality. So I tell myself sometimes I need to get on the boat. Just when I'm overthinking, I need to get on the boat. So what I do is I just imagine it. I imagine I'm on this boat, I'm doing this thing, it's my job. And my brain goes, these thoughts aren't important. What's this guy doing? Like, we don't need to think about this stuff, and next thing you know, you're asleep. Okay? That really works. I tell that to people and they just think that it's nuts, but seriously, try it. You don't have to tell anyone you try it. You don't have to go out on YouTube like me and tell people that you tried this thing. But yeah, it does work and it will help you sleep. Okay? So I hope these tips have been helpful. I'm sorry if these don't work with you, but keep looking for answers, because different people, what do they say, different strokes for different folks. One person's anxiety might be different from another, but keep looking, because there are answers out there, and talk to people around you. Don't face issues on your own. Seek advice. Talk to doctors. Talk to medical professionals, and all of that. Because doctors are doctors. They do medicine and science, but I've learned a lot from a chiropractor that does backs and nerves and all of this stuff, and you learn all these other things. I've seen a respiratory physiotherapist, which is how I learned about the breathing stuff, right? And just a final tip, actually, also that she told me about. There is an app called Smiling Minds. You can download that for free, and that will talk you through some of the breathing stuff. It's kind of like a mindfulness thing, which is, I don't know, I think it's kind of a little bit weird, but yeah, it does just talk you through the breathing stuff, breathing in and out and counting, yada yada yada. So that is helpful. Cool. So next up, if you want to stick around for it, I'll tell you a little bit about my story and how I came to know this stuff. Cool. So my story, anxiety isn't something that I've dealt with hugely throughout my life, but late last year I basically hit burnout. My body crashed. I've been doing ridiculous amounts of stuff, just really wore myself out. And I was driving home one night after doing a whole bunch of stuff, and basically parts of my body started to go numb. Up the back of my neck went numb, arms went numb, my legs went numb, which kind of freaked me out. I had to crawl home, basically driving. I wasn't even in cell phone reception because we live out in the country. I went up my driveway. I think I actually blacked out a little bit in the driveway, and basically made it to my front door and fell into the house and yelled out to my wife. And what I thought I was dehydrated because I hadn't drunk anything for a while and I'd been doing all this work. So So I asked her to bring me a drink. She brought me a drink. I drank a whole lot of water. Started to feel all right. Thought I was all good. Went and had a bath. Went up to go to the bathroom and just had this real terrible pain in my back. Rang my mum, who, like I said before, used to be a pharmacist, and she said, "Oh, you might have a kidney stone. See what happens, see if it comes out or whatever." But the pain didn't go away; it just got worse. So I ended up going to the hospital that night, and they said that I did have a kidney stone, and that it passed naturally. The pain went away at some point, and so that was all fine. That all made sense to me, because when you get dehydrated, that puts you at risk of kidney stones. That's where the pain was. That's what the doctor said. It all made sense. I had a couple of days off work after that, and then I went to go back to work, and I just felt terrible again. I had my blood pressure checked and it wouldn't show up on the machine that we were using, which kind of freaked me out a bit, and I had to go back to the hospital, and then they checked it and actually it was fine. But then I still had numbness in different parts of my body, so I had arms and legs going numb, and all down one side and across, and I got put on ECGs and everything to check all my heart, make sure that was all good. And then they said, we don't really know what's going on, but it's not killing you. Your basic functions are working fine, so you need to go and see your doctor. So I saw doctor after doctor after doctor, because doctors were away and yada yada yada. Anyway, I saw a bunch of doctors. None of them really knew what was going on. I got referred to the physiotherapist, the respiratory physiotherapist, because when I was in the hospital, my carbon dioxide levels were not right. So I started seeing her to, make sure I was breathing properly. I went and saw a chiropractor. She actually sorted out the numbness for me, just moving stuff around in my spine. Managed to make the numbness go away, which was one of the things that was like freaking me out. I ended up back at work like the next week. Before I'd seen all these people, I'd ended up at work the next week, and then it ran into Christmas, so I had a few weeks off, and then I'd gone back to work in the new year, and thinking, hey, I've had a good break, I'm going to be fine, everything's all good now. And then I went to work on the Monday, and I lasted half a day, and my body started going numb again, and I didn't know why. So I was back at doctors, I was back on ECG, had my heart checked again, and so I was back in this situation. And then I started facing anxiety, because I didn't know what was going to happen and when it was going to happen, and nobody knew what was wrong with me, which was really difficult. I was anxious about going to work because I didn't know what was going to happen when I was at work. I was anxious about not going to work because I'm like, I work in a small place and there's not that many staff, and it's all this pressure on other people that I don't like to do. And I was using up sick days and all this stuff, and so either way I was getting anxious, and I kept thinking, I need to get back to work, I need to get back to work, I need to get back to work, and I was going through all this stuff. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's actually a crisis nurse, and he told me about some of the breathing stuff too, and he said to me, you just gotta go easy on yourself, you don't have to be back at work, you've got to stop thinking about it. And in the end, actually, my wife just rang up my work and just said he's not coming back the rest of the week, which took a bit weight off my mind, and it gave me that week to really sort of recoup. But yeah, then I sort of had ongoing anxiety because I still didn't know what was wrong, still didn't know when something was going to happen, when something was going to go wrong. So that's, I started learning the tools from the different medical professionals, you know, from the breathing, the respiratory lady, physiotherapist, the chiropractor, you know, the doctors. I learned all these tools because, and a whole lot of looking on YouTube, but because everywhere I was going they was asking what was happening, and I was telling them about how now I was getting anxious about work and, you know, what was happening. Nobody knew what was happening to me. I had more blood tests than, I had a lot of blood tests, which is not something I enjoy doing, but I had a lot of blood tests. And so it turns out in the end the doctor thinks actually that I had a virus the whole time. And he said, you know, we only test for like the top 5 viruses, but there's thousands of viruses out there, and we think that you've actually had one of them, and then your body's just taken a real hit, and it'll slowly recover from it, which it's been doing, which was great because I sort of started getting better in time for when we had a brand new baby, which would have been really hard if I was still completely smashed out from this other thing. But yeah, I've learned these tools by telling people that I was feeling anxious and asking for help. Okay, so if you don't take anything away from this video other than that, ask for help. People want to help you, and you think there's this big stigma around anxiety. There's really not, because so many people actually suffer from it. It's probably more normal to suffer from anxiety than it is to not suffer from anxiety, to be honest. And people who say, you know, I don't, or I've never suffer from anxiety, probably not even true. But anyway, that's my story. That's what's happened. I found these particular set of tools really helpful. You can do them in conjunction with each other. Breathe properly, hold your thumb, put your feet up, have something cold on your back, you know, whatever. You can combine things when things are really bad. But yeah, I hope this has helped you today. But like I said at the start, this isn't even the topic of my channel. My channel's a music channel, but hey, if you like music, click subscribe. Click a like if this has helped you out, and comment below if you've got more tips. One thing I've found on my videos is sometimes people have more tips, and if you comment them down here, then people coming to this video will be able to read them, and they might find something in there that will help them. So check the comment section as well. Cool, all the best, and I hope you find a way to deal with what you're going through.